What if silence wasn't a sign that something's wrong, but a signal that something deeper is waking up? Why do most men panic in the quiet, while a rare few become stronger in it? Today, we're not running from loneliness. We're walking into it, to find the kind of strength that doesn't come from noise, but from stillness. You wake up. No buzz. No notifications. No one waiting for you. Just stillness. And in that stillness, something starts to ache, not for attention, but for proof. Proof that you matter to someone. Most men reach for their phones in that moment. Scroll. Text. Swipe. Anything to feel connected. Because silence has been sold to us as failure. Society told us that if no one's calling, if no woman's texting, if no one needs you today, you're falling behind. You're invisible. Maybe even broken. But what if they lied? What if that silence isn't an absence, but an invitation? What if the quiet isn't the enemy, but the teacher? See, we've been conditioned to fear solitude. To fill every gap with noise, with people, with distraction. To believe that being alone means something's wrong with us. But here's the truth most men never discover. The man who chooses to walk alone is not weak. He's not broken. He's becoming dangerous. Because his strength isn't borrowed from attention. It's built in silence. This message isn't for every man. It's for the one who's tired. Tired of chasing validation. Tired of performing for approval. Tired of pretending that more noise equals more worth. It's for the man who's ready to rise quietly, not to be seen, but to see. To see himself clearly, without filters, without masks, without applause. Because there's a kind of growth that doesn't happen in the gym, on stage, or in the crowd. It happens in the still moments, when no one's watching. When the world is silent. And all you have left, is yourself. So let me ask you something. When was the last time you sat with your own thoughts, without reaching for a screen? When was the last time you allowed silence to speak louder than your need to be needed? This isn't isolation. This is reclamation. You're not escaping the world. You're returning to yourself. And when that happens, something powerful awakens. A quiet voice. A steady presence. A man who doesn't chase attention, because he carries presence. A man who doesn't prove his worth. He embodies it. So if you're listening to this, and something in your chest is stirring. That's not fear. That's recognition. You're not alone in this silence. You're exactly where you need to be. Compass, and if you're ready to take the first step, drop this in the comments. I choose solitude to forge my strength. Not because it sounds poetic. But because it's finally time, to stop hiding. And start becoming. Part 1, Facing the Fear of Silence. You sit in a room. Alone. No texts. No meetings. No one asking for your time. Just you, and the silence. At first, it feels peaceful. But then, something shifts. That quiet starts to echo. And what it echoes, isn't comforting. See, most men don't fear being alone. They fear what being alone reveals. Not the absence of people, but the presence of truth. Not the quiet outside, but the storm inside. Because when there's nothing left to distract you, you come face to face with the parts of yourself you've been avoiding. The regret you buried. The job you didn't take. The version of you that you promised you'd become, but never did. Silence doesn't yell. It doesn't shame. It just opens the vault. And everything you locked away comes pouring out. That breakup you never processed. That promise you broke to yourself. The moments you looked in the mirror, and didn't recognize who you were becoming. And in that moment, you only have two choices. Run. Or stay. Most men run. From job to job. From woman to woman. From dopamine hit to dopamine hit. Not to build, but to escape. Because silence strips the mask. And when it does, you either shatter, or awaken. At first, the silence is brutal. It wraps around your chest like a vice. It whispers every insecurity you've tried to ignore. You're not enough. You'll always be forgotten. Nothing you do really matters. But if you stay, just long enough to breathe through it, something begins to shift. You start to notice something you've forgotten. You're still here. Still breathing. Still capable. And those thoughts? They're not you. They're echoes. Leftovers from a past you're no longer living. They knock. But you don't have to answer the door. That's when something rare happens. Clarity doesn't arrive with fireworks. It comes quietly. A still knowing that whispers. You are not your past. Not your regrets. Not your worst moment. You're the man who stayed. Who sat in the fire and didn't flinch. And that is power. That is what Stoics call inner command. It doesn't start in a podcast. It doesn't come from a gym. It begins in stillness. When you no longer need noise to distract you. When you let the storm scream, and you don't run from it. That's when you reclaim something most men never touch. A voice. A presence. A weight that comes not from proving, but from knowing. You stop needing to be seen, because you've finally seen yourself. And once a man meets the truth inside him, he doesn't need validation. Because he has something far more powerful. Conviction. So if you're in the middle of that silence right now, don't panic. You're not breaking. You're awakening. And the man who learns to sit with himself is the man the world can no longer shake. Part 2, The Approval Detox. Let's be honest. Most men today are addicted. Not to alcohol. Not to drugs. Not even to sex. But to something far more subtle. Approval. It starts small. You check your phone in the morning. Not because you need information. But because you're hoping for a notification. Did she reply? Did they like your post? Did someone, anyone, notice you? It feels harmless. Even normal. But what you're actually craving is recognition. Not connection. Not intimacy. Just the feeling that you matter. And over time, that craving rewires you. You start filtering your thoughts. You adjust your voice to fit the room. You say yes when everything in you screams no. You laugh at jokes that offend you. You shrink yourself just to stay included. And all the while, you call it being nice. But the truth is, you're not being nice. You're being needy. Because when you're addicted to approval, you'll trade your identity for applause. You'll sell out your values for a thumbs up. You'll hide your truth just to avoid rejection. And here's the worst part. You don't even realize you're doing it. There's no rehab for this. No one stages an intervention for the guy who's addicted to being liked. But it's killing you slowly. Not physically, but spiritually. It eats away at your self-respect. Until you wake up one day and realize you've become a version of yourself that doesn't even feel like you. So what's the way out? It's not easy. But it's simple. You go through a detox. You stop checking your phone every 5 minutes. You stop shaping your opinions to match the room. You ask yourself the hard question. Am I doing this because I believe in it, or because I want to be liked? That one question changes everything. You stop texting people just to stay relevant. You stop apologizing for having boundaries. You stop over-explaining yourself to people who were never listening in the first place. At first, it feels like withdrawal. The silence is deafening. You wonder, what if they don't like me anymore? But that discomfort is detox. And if you sit with it long enough, something incredible happens. A new voice begins to emerge. Not the one you crafted for approval. Not the one you rehearsed to be accepted. But your real voice. It doesn't shout. It doesn't beg. It simply is. And here's the paradox. The moment you stop chasing attention, you become magnetic. You walk into a room and people feel the shift. Not because you're louder, but because you're rooted. You don't carry neediness. You carry presence. You stop trying to be seen. And that's exactly when you become unforgettable. Because men who chase approval blend in. But men who choose themselves stand out. Not by force, but by alignment. By knowing who they are, especially when no one's watching. That's the power of the approval detox. It costs you fake friends, surface-level smiles, temporary applause. But what you gain is real self-respect, peace, clarity. So ask yourself right now, are you still living to be liked? Or are you finally ready to like yourself? Part 3, Clarity through Solitude. Have you ever wondered why your mind feels so cluttered, even when your schedule is empty? Why, even in moments of stillness, your heart keeps racing, your thoughts keep spinning? That's not restlessness. That's the weight of noise you've been carrying for years. See, most of us never learned how to sit with ourselves. We learned how to scroll. How to impress. How to perform. But solitude? Solitude feels foreign, because it demands something deeper. It doesn't ask you to do. It asks you to see. To see what's real, and what's been running on autopilot. There's a powerful shift that happens when a man chooses to step away from the noise, not because he's hiding, but because he's tired of being distracted from his own life. And in that retreat, clarity begins. Not overnight. Not all at once. But slowly, like the fog lifting from a mountain at dawn. You begin to notice something unsettling. Many of your goals were never truly yours. The house. The title. The lifestyle that looked good on Instagram but never felt like home in your heart. You start to ask questions you were too busy to ask before. What actually fuels me? Why am I still holding on to people or routines that drain me? Who do I become when I'm around certain people? And is that man aligned with who I want to be? These aren't easy questions. But they're the right ones. And solitude is the only place they can truly be answered, without pressure, without noise, without the need to perform. In the stillness, something honest rises to the surface. You remember promises you made to yourself. Dreams you buried because they didn't fit someone else's version of success. Parts of you that got lost trying to meet expectations that were never meant for you. And then, you begin to shed. Not out of anger. Not out of rebellion. But out of alignment. You start saying no to people who only liked the edited version of you. You stop chasing connections that feel shallow. You stop tolerating roles that keep you small. And slowly, your life starts to reflect something deeper. Your calendar gets quieter. Your circle gets smaller. But your soul, it starts breathing again. Because here's the paradox. When you stop trying to prove yourself to the world, you start becoming someone the world respects without question. You begin living with intention. You wake up not to react, but to act. Your routines match your values. Your environment mirrors your inner clarity. You no longer explain your standards. You no longer soften your truth to make others comfortable. You don't owe anyone an apology for choosing peace over performance. And as people come and go, you remain steady. Because that's what clarity does. It roots you. People might misunderstand you. They might call you distant, cold, arrogant. But that's only because they're used to the version of you who tried to please everyone. That version is gone. You didn't lose yourself. You finally found him. You don't need the world to understand your silence. Because you do. And that's more than enough. The man who walks alone is not lost. He's rebuilding. He's refining. He's becoming someone the noise could never create. So if your world feels quiet right now, don't rush to fill it. Don't scroll it away. Don't numb it with distraction. Sit in it. Listen. Because in that silence, something extraordinary is waiting. Clarity. And with it, the courage to live your life on purpose, not just by default. Embracing the quiet. Silence. It's one of the most misunderstood things in a man's life. We've been taught to fear it. To avoid it. To fill it. But what if silence wasn't a void to escape? What if it was a door? A quiet invitation. To come home to yourself. See, we live in a world that glorifies noise. More opinions. More likes. More attention. But the more we chase it, the more disconnected we become, from our center, from our peace, from our truth. Because here's the quiet truth no one tells you. You don't need more attention. You need more alignment. You don't need more people to notice you. You need to notice the man you've become when no one's watching. The man who walks alone. He's not broken. He's not lost. He's refining. He's rebuilding. He's not running away from the world. He's simply walking back to himself. And when a man finally chooses himself, not out of ego, but out of honesty, something powerful happens. The right people stay. The wrong ones fade. And the opportunities that once felt so far away begin to find him. Not because he chases them, but because he's no longer chasing anything that isn't real. This is what the world doesn't understand about stillness. It's not emptiness. It's depth. It's not isolation. It's inner command. It's the place where noise stops, and clarity begins. So if you've made it this far in the video, chances are, something inside you is stirring. Maybe you felt disconnected. Maybe you've been chasing approval, attention, validation. Only to realize it left you exhausted, not fulfilled. Maybe you're starting to sense that the man you're meant to be isn't out there waiting for you to find him. He's already inside you, waiting to be remembered. So here's what I'll leave you with. Let go of one distraction today. Just one. Not because it's trendy. Not because someone told you to. But because there's a version of you on the other side of that silence. Who's stronger, wiser, clearer, and finally ready to lead. Don't chase noise. Build clarity. Don't perform for attention. Train your discipline. Don't try to fit into a world that doesn't understand you. Create a life that reflects the man you've worked to become. Because this is the way of the Stoic spirit. We don't lead with volume. We lead with presence. We don't seek power over others. We build power within. So if this message spoke to something inside you, don't let it fade. Drop a comment below. Today, I choose stillness. Then hit like, not for the algorithm, but to anchor this moment. And if you're ready to build clarity, discipline, and quiet strength with us, subscribe to the channel. Because here, we don't chase popularity. We build men who lead from the inside out.